My name is Dr. Rachel White Galvin, and I help musicians perform without pain. One of the questions I get asked the most is what kinds of wrist exercises or stretches can one do to help with wrist pain? Well, stay tuned, and I've got 3 great movements coming up. Wrist pain is a big problem if you're a musician, but we tend to focus a little too much on the wrist being in pain. And so that means we want to stretch it, we want to strengthen it, we want to focus just on the wrist. But in my experience, wrist pain is helped more by looking at other parts of yourself. So let's say your shoulders, into your elbow, other parts of yourself, how your wrist attaches to the rest of you. So if we can take that step back, then we can really help how the wrist is working. Because if your wrist is in pain, then I guarantee you that it's working too hard. So I've got 3 great movements to show you that are not actually the wrist. Surprise, shocker, I know. But they're going to help you, I promise. And as a bonus at the end, I will give you a short little wrist stretch routine. So the first movement that I want to show you has to do with the forearms. So the forearms connect to the wrist, but we actually have these 2 bones in the forearms, and they do this beautiful dance of kind of twisting around each other. But all of this kind of tissue in here can get a little stuck when the twisting is done primarily only in one direction. Let's say, so if you're a string player and you're always here, the bones are always twisted around each other, and those muscles can get kind of tight. So what we want to do is just introduce some movement. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to interlace your fingers, and you can place your hands on your belly. You can do this lying on the floor, like going to bed at night is actually a really nice way to relax. Or you can do this seated, like I am right now. So you're going to interlace your fingers, and you're going to place your hands on your belly. And what I want you to do is you're just going to roll your hands just ever so slightly down your belly, and then roll them up. And do this up and down, and feel what your elbows do. And feel how those bones in your forearms twist. And now if you're having a hard time feeling that twisting, then unlace your fingers. You can take one hand around one forearm and just take your hand in and out, roll it in and out, and feel how those bones move. You can do it on the other arm, and you're not squeezing super tight. It's not a death grip. Don't leave marks after you've been holding. If you leave marks after you let go, then you're holding on too hard. So just ever so slightly, holding and feeling how those bones twist. And then come back to interlacing your fingers, put your hands on your belly again, and then roll your hands up and down your belly and feel if you can feel a little bit of a change in that movement now. And then you can go in opposite ways. So one hand can roll down as the other hand rolls up. And just play with how those bones roll around each other. So the next movement that we're going to do is a movement that's going to help your shoulder blades move a little more independently from your rib cage. So this is a big issue for a lot of people, is that their shoulder blades, in their brains, they think that their shoulder blade and their ribs move together, whereas what can actually happen, especially if you watch young children, they have amazing shoulder blades, and their shoulder blades can glide in different directions over their ribs. So what we're going to do in this movement is going to help you feel a little bit more the movement of your shoulder blade independent from your ribs. So to do this, we're going to lie on our stomachs, and please excuse my microphone business here. So you are going to, if you're going to face the right, then you're going to put your left hand on the floor, your right hand on top of your left hand, and then you're going to rest your head on top of your right hand. And you're looking to the right. So I'm looking at my right elbow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift ever so slightly my right elbow, and then I'm going to put it back down. And I'm going to do this ever so gently. I'm not going big. I'm just
an inch, no more. That's enough. And feel how the shoulder blade moves over the ribs. And then when you have that fairly clear in your mind, then you can slide your elbow up along the floor and then down. So before you were going up towards the ceiling and down was the floor, and now up is more the direction of your head, so along the floor, and then down is more towards your feet, still only moving an inch or so. And then once you have that fairly clear about how the shoulder blade is moving up when you slide the elbow up, and the shoulder blade moves down when your elbow comes down, then rest in the middle. And now you're going to do circles. So you have up towards the ceiling, down is the floor. You have up along the floor and down along the floor. So now you're going to take those four kind of cardinal directions and connect them. So you take it up, elbow goes up, swing it around front, drag it back, and then pick it up again. And it's almost kind of like an oar in the water. And you can go one way, and then you can go the other way. And if you don't feel like your circle is very circly, that's okay. Just go smaller. Even if it's the tiniest of movements where if somebody walked in the room and looked at you, they wouldn't even think you're moving, that's okay. That's enough for your brain to get a sense of what the movement is. So then when you're ready, give that a try on the left.
Give it a try on the left. So the last movement I want to show you before we get to those wrist stretches is a movement that's going to help you learn a little bit more about how your arm and your shoulder move in relation to the rest of you, to your trunk, your pelvis, your legs. So this is a movement you can do lying on the floor, but I think that it works just as well standing against a wall, and this is actually a little nicer, easier version of the floor version. So what you're going to do is you're going to stand next to the wall and you're going to lean into the wall. So my foot, my ankle is touching the wall, my hip is touching the wall, my shoulder is on the wall, and then my head is going to be on the wall too. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my arm against the wall, straight out in front of me. I can take my other arm and use it to kind of prop myself up against the wall. And so I'm going to start this movement by pulling my elbow through this gap that's formed between my ribs and my hips. And I know some people that say they don't really have a gap there, but you can actually learn to move your ribs in such a way that it will make a gap. So play with that idea. So here I am. I'm going to drag my elbow through that gap. And I'm going to bring my arm all the way out. But you'll notice that here I actually have to roll my nose towards the wall. So I can't keep myself in the normal position and expect my arm to go all the way through. So I have to move the rest of me. And that's why this hand comes in handy. Haha, pun intended. So then I can extend my arm all the way back. And then in order to have it go further up the wall, I actually have to turn it against the wall, so that it can come up and over and then underneath my head and then back to where it started. And then you can reverse the direction. So come up, under the head, let the head only lift because the arm is moving under it, and bring it back. And this is a part where people get stuck, and it's because they don't quite understand how to rotate their arm. And so feel how your arm can roll to that point where then you can bend your elbow so that your hand can slide back through that gap. Now this is one that is a little challenging, especially if you have a lot of tightness in your shoulder. So that being said, go slow on this one. And if you can only go part of the circle, that's fine. Then reverse course, go the other way and go as far as you can in the other direction. And then you'll start to find that if you're nice to yourself and you don't try and push yourself all the way around this clock face, this circle, then you're going to actually start to be able to go a little bit further. So, but take it easy. You don't have to push yourself. There's no reason why you have to get all the way around the clock. It's just a way to teach your shoulder and your torso all how to move together. As promised, here is my favorite wrist warm-up. These are wrist stretches, but please go easy on this. If you are experiencing wrist pain, this is the last thing I want you to do. I want you to try all that other stuff first, but these are great if you're trying to warm up for, say, a yoga class or some kind of fitness class where you might be doing push-ups or whatever. It's also really nice as a warm-up for getting ready to play, but don't overdo it here. Just go light, go easy, and feel your way through it. So that being said, here we go. So you're gonna start with your fingers facing forward, and you're gonna lean yourself over your hands ever so slightly, and then you're gonna pull yourself back. And so to pull yourself back, you can push your fingers into the floor and then lean forward again, push your fingers into the floor. And I should say that if you want to be a little bit more of a stretch, if you feel like you need more of a stretch, bring your hands a little bit closer to you, then you'll have more distance to lean forward. But if that's too much, then you start further out from your legs, from your knees. So then, after you've done that, you're gonna go fingers out to the side. And here, you can lean to the right, lean to the left, and every time you push back to the other hand, that other hand is pushing, the fingers are pushing into the floor. So my left fingers push into the floor to move me to the right, and then my right fingers push into the floor to move me to the left. And I go back and forth in this way. And then you can start to do circles around your wrists. And as I said before, if you need a little bit more stretch, you can go closer to you, but this is fine out here, no worries. Then you're gonna go fingers back, pointing towards you. For some people, that might be here, and that's okay. But for me, I can do about right there. Now, this one is one that you want to do closer to your legs. So if you go further out, this is going to be harder. So you want to be closer to your legs for less stretch here. And then you also want to make sure, if you're somebody who can hyperextend your elbows, don't extend your elbows here. So try and keep them just straight. So then you're going to pull your hips back, so lean back. And you can kind of just go nice and easy, pulling the hips back and leaning a little bit forward. It's a little harder to press your fingers into the floor here, but you can certainly give it a try ever so lightly. Then you'll spin your hands around. And the last part, actually the second to last part of this, is you're gonna go on the tops of your hands. And so I like to get into this by actually lowering my chest, making my elbows nice and wide, and then straightening my elbows. And so now I've spread my hands on the floor, and I'm on the tops of my hands. I'm gonna pull my hips back just ever so gently. Again, this is one where you wanna be a little bit closer to your knees for less stretch. So if you want more, you go further out. Less, you come closer in. Pulling back here, and then coming out of that really nice and easy, very gently. And then the last part are some knuckle raises. And so the way I like to do this is one at a time. So do the left side or the right side to start. So I'm just lifting at this knuckle. So my fingers are staying on the floor, but I'm lifting the palm of my hand. Same on the other side. Going back and forth just like that. And then if you feel a little more confident, you can do both at the same time. Not necessary to do both at the same time, but if you like, you can choose that. Thank you so much for watching today. Again, I am Dr. Rachel White-Galvin of Mind Felt Methods, and I help musicians play without pain. And please let me know in the comments how this went for you. Give me a like, and I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel.